this morning we're very lucky to have family law attorney Rebecca Gonzalez with us this morning, focusing on divorce. And thankfully, I've not had to deal with that, but I know so many people who have gone through a divorce, and there are always questions when you're going through a divorce. So thank you so much. Very nice to see you, Rebecca.
Very nice to see you again.
So I know you're a family law attorney, but again, focusing on divorce.
Well, what we're going to talk about is that under that header, there's three main areas. You've got divorce, custody, and child support issues that come up on a regular basis and are the most profound. There's also other things, adoption, termination, etc. We can get into that on different segments. But looking at what y'all asked me to do today is go over what are common situations of, you know, women and men coming in to my office with concerns. And the first one,
you got to know your rights, right? I mean,
right.
A lot of people will come, I'm sure, into your office and they'll say, you know, my husband, my significant other is telling me this. Well, is that right? You know, so you got to know what is law here in Texas.
Right.
And that's where you come in, obviously.
Well, the initial consultations are always free, and that's the first thing people should know. I'll do telephone consults, or we do, you know, in the office consults, starting with one common issue that a lot of women don't know the law around and always need to consult a lawyer before they just sign a final decree is, you know, on post-divorce maintenance. And what this really is another word, you know, in other states it's called alimony. Here it's post-divorce maintenance under Texas law. Now what does that mean? The first thing I ask them, and ask in the questionnaire, is, you know, how many years have you been married? If they say 10 years or more, I say, you know, what's your earning capacity? Where are you at in your life, in your career? Many women are still putting their careers on hold, raising children, or earning far less than their counterpart. Well, at 10 years under the law, under the post-maintenance support, you know, code, it allows for a woman to start collecting 3 years post-maintenance divorce, 20% of her husband's or ex-husband's gross,
and
along
that's
with child support. But see,
yeah,
for example, a lot of times women come in and they want to keep it simple. No one wants to fight. Everybody wants to, and they come in with the deal they've already made with their husband. And I have to read through this and go, but wait a minute, you've been married 20 years. You know, you've been married 15 years. You're entitled to 5 years. If you've been married 20 years, 7 years, and it goes on and on. So the reality is they need to stop. Don't sign anything, even if they tell you, oh, but I'm giving you 60-40. But is he really?
You never really know until you come and sit down with a lawyer. What about visitation? Because I know that's another gray area when it comes to getting divorced. What do we need to know about that?
Now, I'm going to talk also for the men, because my practice is equal, men and women. But you know, getting to this issue on visitation, common problem. Mother comes in. Mother and father have been separated for 3 or 6 months. Mother, in trying to keep things simple, agrees to give dad 1 week on, 1 week off, or something that basically is a split custody. What she may not realize, and she needs to know what she's negotiating, is my point, when she makes that deal, is that she may be setting up herself for a custody case. She's not going to get child support under, you know, doing 1 week on and 1 week off of visitation, you know, granted to the husband. And what the other side, if I was arguing for the husband, I would say, well, you know, Your Honor, it's worked for the last 3 or 6 months. Why change it now? Dad's doing a great job. And you know what? It goes both ways. So the reality is, it's best to really come in and visit with me before you start making these decisions that ultimately could impact how your divorce is going to turn out.
It's so true. And you know, when you're going through this, you need an advocate to be on your side. And that's what you do. I'm going to keep you here just a little bit longer. We're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to talk about finances and divorce. And we're also going to touch a little bit on military divorce. So stay with us. We've got more with attorney Rebecca Gonzalez when we come back. Welcome back to San Antonio Living. We're talking with attorney Rebecca Gonzalez, and this morning we're focusing on divorce. We talked a lot about the husband and wife situation. I want to talk a little bit about child support and separation. When you become separated, what happens?
Okay. A common, since we've so far geared it towards what women need to look out for. For the men, this is a common problem. They are getting separated, and they come in, maybe they've been separated, already 6 months or a year. And the first question I ask them is, okay, so how many children, of course, have you been paying any child support? Sometimes it's surprising how many men don't realize from the moment you separate, you have a child support obligation. It begins right then.
Okay.
Whether you're married or whether you're not married, it begins right then.
Okay.
This can get, into a messy situation because at that point, the husband realizes or the boyfriend realizes he's in arrears, and what happens with the child support arrearage is that there's a 6% interest rate tacked on it, and what that means is they can get a huge credit card bill that becomes revolving, that they can't get out from underneath. These are all things that are important to be looking out for.
Got to get ahead of it.
I tell the men they need to come in prior to getting separated when they're thinking about this, and we'll run their paychecks and see, okay, honestly, what do you need to make sure you're giving her every month? Because the reality is, if you're going to split up in anticipation of a divorce, it may be that you're paying the mortgage, the CPS, and this, but it doesn't cover what your child support obligation is.
How do you come up with that number? Is there a rule, or how does it work?
Well, it's all percentages.
Okay.
Depends on how many kids you have. It starts with 20% for one child, and it goes up by 5% for each additional child within the same home.
Okay.
Now, if you start having children with multiple women, this can be a mess. The percentage
It's a lot of law you got to dig through at that point to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, you mentioned that your consultations are free, right? So the best case scenario is if this is something that you're thinking about in your family, you want to consult with Rebecca before you go ahead and make that first step to make sure you have all your ducks in a row. I want to touch quickly on military divorce. Is going through a divorce as a military member different than going through a divorce as a civilian?
Yes, it is. That is a whole different animal, and I think at some point we need to do a segment that's just geared towards military divorce.
Okay.
The truth is, common problem, we can only get into the common themes that we see women coming in. Case on point yesterday, ex-wife or woman comes into my office, the divorce happened, she didn't do the final paperwork or the final step, which sometimes these ancillary paperwork, it's everything. And what we have is a domestic relations order that it has to be prepared and sent to DFAS so that they know how to divide the service member's retirement. In the final decrees, you always see a paragraph, and the guys should be aware of this, that it says constructive trust. What that means is he is responsible for giving her her percentage, under the final decree. But this creates a mess because had she just come in or let us do the quadro, sometimes people run out of money towards the end of a divorce. They don't want to get it done. They say, I've got the divorce decree, but you're not getting your retirement, or the retirement aspect, even though it's granted in the divorce, because there is ancillary paperwork that must be completed and sent in, and this is a process. The reality is they find they haven't been getting the retirement for years. They think that, they can't get it. And what we have to make them understand is, A, we do the domestic relations order. B, we take the husband or the ex-husband back to court and get what he should have been giving her all along under that constructive trust. But it gets more convoluted than all that. That's why I think that military divorce is a segment all in itself.
All right, well, I'm going to bring you back for that because I know we've got a lot of military members here in San Antonio, but the bottom line is this. If you're thinking about a divorce or a separation, contact Rebecca Gonzalez before you mess it up on your own,
or
really.
A custody battle.
Yes, or a custody battle, because she's got the answers and she's here to help you out in San Antonio on West Avenue. Check out her website, RebeccaGonzalezLaw.com.
No, lawfirm.com.
Oh, I'm sorry, RebeccaGonzalezLawFirm.com. We'll fix that and put it back up there for you. Again, RebeccaGonzalezLawFirm.com. And the phone number to set up that consultation, it is free, 888-9836 for more information.